We think of George Orwell as a master of dystopian fiction. But did you know that each of his books are also a minefield of psychological insight? From the darkest depths of the human psyche to the complexities of social interactions, Orwell's work is littered with keen observations about the human condition. This satirical novella is a must-read for anyone interested in the psychology of manipulation and propaganda. Orwell paints a chilling picture of how animals can be brainwashed into accepting their own oppression through the clever use of language and the exploitation of their emotions. In Animal Farm, the pig's gradual corruption and the other animals' blind obedience are all studied with an almost clinical precision. Even his most fantastical creations are grounded in a deep understanding of human psychology. So join me as we explore the psychology of George Orwell's books. Orwell spent time living among the poorest communities in Wigan. Peer and his descriptions of their lives are both heartbreaking and unforgettable. He doesn't shy away from depicting the psychological toll that poverty takes on its victims, making this a must-read for anyone interested in the psychology of poverty and inequality. When she falls into poverty and is forced to confront the harsh realities of the world, her mental state begins to deteriorate. Orwell's portrayal of her descent into madness is both tragic and thought-provoking. Animal Farm. While not strictly a psychological study, many of the essays contain keen observations about the English character and psyche. Keep the aspidistra flying. This novel is a study of a young man's struggle to maintain his artistic integrity in a society that values conformity and materialism above all else. Whether you're interested in the psychology of manipulation, poverty, war, or creativity, Orwell's work has something to offer you. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend checking out some of his lesser-known works and discovering the hidden depths of this literary giant's work. Orwell's protagonist, Gordon Comstock, becomes increasingly alienated from the world around him. As he refuses to compromise his principles, it is a fascinating exploration of the psychology of creativity and the human cost of sacrificing one's passions for financial security. Orwell's protagonist of a young British police officer who becomes increasingly disillusioned with his role in the oppressive system. He pulls no punches in his descriptions of the squalor and misery that he witnesses, and he doesn't shy away from depicting the psychological toll that poverty takes on those who experience it. As he grapples with his own sense of morality, Orwell offers a powerful critique of the psychological mechanisms that maintain systems of power and control. 1984. This classic dystopian novel is a chilling exploration of the dark side of human nature. While not strictly a psychological study, the book offers a fascinating glimpse into the mind of a man at war with society. Orwell's descriptions of the brutality and chaos of combat are visceral and unflinching, and his reflections on the nature of courage and comradeship are equally powerful. From the protagonist's descent into madness to the terrifying world of the thought police, Orwell captures the psychological effects of living in a society where every aspect of your life is controlled. Set in a near-future Britain that's just emerged victorious from World War II, the novel follows a man who becomes increasingly disillusioned with the values of the society he finds himself in. Through his eyes, Orwell paints a bleak picture of a society that has been damaged by war and explores the psychological effects of living in a time of conflict. It's a must-read for anyone interested in the psychology of totalitarianism and the human capacity for evil. Coming up for air. This lesser-known novel is a powerful indictment of war and its effects on the human psyche. Homage to Catalonia. This non-fiction book is a first-hand account of Orwell's experiences fighting in the Spanish Civil War. The Road to Wigan Pier. This non-fiction book is a searing indictment of the poverty and despair that gripped Britain during the Great Depression. Burmese Days. Set in colonial Burma, this novel explores the psychological effects of imperialism and the human cost of empire. A clergyman's daughter, This novel is a study of the psychological torment of a young woman who leaves her sheltered upbringing to experience life on her own terms. Down and out in Paris and London, this non-fiction book is a first-hand account of Orwell's experiences living in poverty in both Paris and London. The English People. This non-fiction book is a collection of essays and articles that Orwell wrote about various aspects of English culture and society. George Orwell's books are not just great literature. They're also a goldmine for anyone interested in the psychology of humanity. Each of George Orwell's books, whether fiction or non-fiction, is a minefield of psychological insight and social comment. In this video, we will be looking at each of his books and what you can pluck from them psychologically. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe for more videos like this one. Also, if you could click the link in the description below to take a 2-minute survey, I would really appreciate it. The results will be used to help make future videos more interesting and useful. Thanks. Let's look a little deeper into each book. 1984, Dang with Big Brother is probably the most famous book ever written about totalitarianism. But have you noticed how the main character, Winston Smith, is pretty much a classic example of someone suffering from depression? He is apathetic, feels worthless, has no friends and no one to love him, is anxious, has strange and disturbing dreams, is full of self-loathing and loathes the world around him. His whole life revolves around his work, which he also hates. Basically, Winston Smith is a metaphor for how totalitarian governments try to squash the individual, and in that sense, the book serves as an early warning sign of what happens when someone suffers from severe depression. That's why so many people who have read the book feel a strong connection to it. It isn't just a political statement, it's a psychological one. 1984. Animal Farm is a brilliant satire on how the Russian Revolution turned out. But there is something else going on there too. It is also a commentary on how people behave when they have absolute power over others. The pigs in the story represent those in power and how they use their intelligence to manipulate and control the other animals. But it's also about how those same people in power become, like the pigs, greedy, lazy, and obsessed with themselves. Coming Up for Air is a lesser-known novella by Orwell, but it is psychologically fascinating. The story is set in a small English town where the protagonist, George Bowling, returns home after serving in World War II. George suffers from anxiety and depression as he tries to readjust to civilian life. He is disgusted by the town's complacency and fearful of the growing influence of communism. The story follows George's descent into madness as he becomes increasingly isolated and paranoid. It is a powerful indictment of the dehumanizing effects of war and totalitarianism and a prescient warning of the dangers of fascism. Homage to Catalonia is Orwell's personal account of his experiences fighting in the Spanish Civil War, is a first-hand account of the brutality and chaos of war and its impact on the human psyche. Orwell writes about the camaraderie and courage of the Republican soldiers, but also the disillusionment and despair that set in, as it became clear that they were fighting a losing battle. Overall, it's a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming odds, and a searing indictment of the horrors of war. Keep the Aspidistra Flying is a novel about a young man named Gordon Comstock, who rejects the conventions of society in order to pursue his own artistic vision. It is a story about poverty, love, and loss, but also about the power of hope and the importance of staying true to oneself. The title itself is a reference to a line from a poem by English poet Wilfred Owen, which reads, "If you could hear, at every turn, the eyeballs of men praying and pleading, keep the Aspidistra flying, keep us, O Lord, from Colonel Blimp, The phrase became a kind of mantra for those who wanted to stay true to themselves despite the pressures of society. In that sense, the novel is a celebration of individuality and a call for people to stay true to themselves despite the challenges they may face. The Road to Wigan Pier is a first-hand account of life in the English town of Wigan during the Great Depression. It is a harrowing indictment of the poverty and despair that were widespread at the time, but it is also a study of the human spirit and the resilience of the people who lived through it. Orwell writes about the bleak economic conditions and they took on the physical and mental health of the people living there, but he also captures their strength and determination in the face of such hardship. Shooting an Elephant is an essay about colonialism and imperialism, but it is also a meditation on the nature of power and the responsibility that comes with it. Orwell writes about his experience shooting an elephant while he was a police officer in Burma and the psychological torment that it caused him. He explores the dynamics of power between the colonizer and the colonized, and the moral dilemmas that arise when one is in a position of authority. It is a profound reflection on the nature of good and evil and the ambiguity of human nature. Such were the Olympics as a collection of Orwell's essays on politics and literature. Many of these essays are considered classics of modern English prose, and they continue to be relevant today. In fact, one of the essays in the collection, Politics and the English Language, is a blistering critique of the way language is often used to manipulate and control people, and it is just as relevant today as it was when it was first published in 1946. A Clergyman's Daughter is Orwell's second novel, and it tells the story of a young woman who leaves her sheltered life in order to experience the world on her own terms. It is a coming-of-age story, but it is also a powerful indictment of the hypocrisy and narrow-mindedness of religious institutions. The novel follows the protagonist's journey of self-discovery and the challenges she faces as she tries to break free from the constraints of society. It is a moving and thought-provoking story that continues to resonate with readers today. Keep the Aspidistra Flying and A Clergyman's Daughter were both published in the same year, 1937, and they are two of Orwell's most underrated novels. They are both coming-of-age stories, in which the protagonists leave the safety of their families and set out to discover the world on their own terms. Both novels were critical and commercial failures when they were first published, but they have since been recognized as important works of literature. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks again for watching and see you next time.